Now listen, before you do a recording session, once we realized how important it was where everybody was sitting and which direction they were facing and what microphone they were using and what direction the microphone was facing and where the microphone was plugged into, well, then we have to make these instructions before we even come to basically, start to do the setup. You might come in early and do it that day, or you might do it the night before you go home, because you as the first engineer have to lay out how you want this thing set up, because you're the one who's supposed to know. You're the one who's going to be responsible for the sound in the end. So you had better be sure it's set up to your specifications. And you want to be able to draw a setup sheet so clear and clean that you could send it to another city, to a studio you've never been in, but you've got their blank setup sheet, and to engineers and setup people that you've never met, and they will set it up exactly the way you want, so you can arrive in town an hour before downbeat at the airport, get the cab, come to the studio a half an hour before downbeat, get a little comfortable with the room, listen to your favorite thing that you know what it sounds like in this room, so you can compare where you've been, what you've been listening to, and how does that stuff sound in this room. Then you can go right into your session. You don't have to change a thing, because they set your session up exactly like you wanted it, because you drew it on their setup sheet. The setup sheet is as close to scale model as we can get. This is a setup sheet that was drawn for the setup of a CD that we're working on right now, a very nice big band, 17-piece, and we recorded it right here. This is the folder for this project. There's all the 8-track tapes that are in there. Everything is labeled and documented so that we can come back. We started working on this about a little over a year ago, and while we were working on it, the guy that started this band developed pancreatic cancer, passed away in the middle of the project, and we're still finishing it and working on the project so that his family can have it and that we can have the tape and the CD, because the band is still going. And we have no problem, because everything we did is well documented. When we go away from it for a year, 6 months, we can come back, pick up right where we left off, what's on what tracks, all the notes of any overdubs and everything that was done, because we're finished mixing it now. We're just going to master it, actually. Any settings, look at this. There's one of the tapes, everything that's on everything, and then on the back there's settings on the some of the effects and the outboard gears. So they're all there. Go back, pick up right where we left off. Look at the take sheet, neatly organized so that anybody can read it, because anybody's going to have to read it. You're just not the only one on this project. This is okay, here's another thing. Take a look at this. Now, when you leave a session here, you're doing the session here today, and you got that sound that you love. It took you an hour to get the sound. Maybe you're mixing or something. All right. Well, okay, well, we can't do it all in one day. We'll be back day after tomorrow. Sure. Okay, well, the studio is going to be sold again. Somebody else is going to come in and do another session. You have to zero the board out, put everything back to normal before you leave. So what you have to do is you have to take and write down in analog all the settings of all the mixes that you were doing. This is an 8 fader sections, so we got 32 inputs, so that all has to be written down. Oh, and look at this. There's some verb settings on the back of that as a note. When the session is done, I go to the second engineer. I say, okay, write down all the settings, man, and I'm talking to the client, and he's there another half hour, 40 minutes, writing down all of the settings of everything we just did. Then when we come in, the second engineer gets there early and goes and sets everything back to the way he wrote them down, and I, the first engineer, come in and say, okay, how is it? Let's hit play, boom, boom. Yeah, well, wait a minute, jeebus, didn't we have, let me just adjust this a little. Okay, boom, we're ready to start again. This is dedicated to that particular mixer. But you can go online for your mixer and download the pictures and then make Xeroxes, because that's what I did with this. The setup sheet is the way you have control over the sound that's actually going to take place and how it's going to get picked up.